Hello guys, welcome to H2O, the A to Z of chemistry. I'm Dr. Ritu Johar, your educator on this course on general organic chemistry, and I hope you're enjoying this course with me. So today we begin with lecture 15 from the course, but make sure you watch the previous ones before viewing this one. In the last lecture, we learned about the nomenclature of the alicyclic compounds. You already have a lot of knowledge on the nomenclature of the aliphatic compounds. So today what we are going to do is we are going to combine all the information that you have been learning so far into this lecture, where we are going to learn about the nomenclature of the complex organic compounds or the polyfunctional organic compounds. By complex organic compounds, we mean that along with the single bonds, double bonds, triple bonds, we are going to see the presence of functional groups. We are going to see the straight chains and cyclic rings being together in the name of the compound, or you can say we are going to discuss the nomenclature of the polyfunctional compounds, where they are going to be present more than one functional group in one compound. So far what you have been seeing is only the presence of one functional group in the compound. If it is a OH group, only OH group is present. If it is a COOH group, it is only COOH present. Along with that, yes, a double bond and a triple bond may be present. But so today we are going to combine all this information into this lecture, where we will be learning about difficult naming of the compounds. All right. So this is going to be a very important lecture. Many questions, they are going to be framed in your examination also from this. So please be very attentive, understand everything, and if there are doubts, please put that doubts in the comment section so that we can help you with them as well. And after we have finished this, you're going to practice a lot many questions, and even then if you are going to have some problems, you're going to put that in the comment section as well. If you want, you can put them in the email also. You can email us, and the email ID of ours is always written on the last slide of every lecture. So I hope you're going to enjoy a happy learning. So let us begin. So when we start with the nomenclature of the polyfunctional organic compounds, where we will be starting with the things that you already know. And what you already know is that according to the IUPAC system of nomenclature, the name of the organic compound, this typically consists of some parts, and those parts, they have a meaning. Now, what are those parts? You have probably learned that in one of the very early lectures while we started the discussion on the nomenclature. So the name of an organic compound, this typically consists of a prefix, a word root, a primary suffix and a secondary suffix. All of these, they have a meaning, and well, when you're going to put that meaning together, you are going to get the structure of the organic compound from the name itself. Now, what do these all mean? You've already learned that, so let us quickly revise that. So the word root, this is giving us the basic unit of the name. This tells us about the number of carbon atoms present in the longest continuous chain selected, and the longest continuous chain selected, this is called as the parent chain. The next we have the prefix. So prefix is the substituent or the side chain which is not the functional group, and these groups, they are always indicated when we use them as a prefix just before the word root. All right, so all the functional groups, all the groups like the alkyl group, the halogen group, the NO2 group, the alkoxy group, that is the OL group, all of these, they are the side chains. And along with that, when you just learn this, that when there are going to be more than one functional groups present in the name of the compound, one of them is going to be treated as the principal functional group, and the rest of all the functional groups, they are also going to be treated as substituents, and then we will be using a prefix for their name. All right. The next we have is the suffix. So the suffix is always going to follow the word root, and the suffix, what does this tell us? Well, there are two suffixes, a primary suffix and a secondary suffix. So the primary suffix, this is going to tell us the nature of the carbon-carbon bonds, whether it is all single bonds, whether there's a double bond present, there's a triple bond present. And then we have the secondary suffix, which tells us about the principal functional group which is present in the name of the compound. So now there is a certain procedure how we will be naming the complex compounds or the polyfunctional compounds. I will just first of all tabulate all the points for you, and then we will be elaborating that information so that you have a thorough understanding. The first thing is that you have to identify the principal functional group. How you will be doing that I will be telling you a bit later. But the next step is going to be the selection of the longest continuous chain, and this should include the carbon which is carrying the functional group, right? Next step is that you have to write the parent name, the number of carbons which are going to be present in the longest chain. This is what you have been already doing. The arrangement of the substituent names with the position numbers in the alphabetical order, and then prefixing the substituent names with the parent names. So let us see how now we are going to name these compounds. So the first step in naming the organic compounds is the identification of the functional group. So let us quickly revise the concepts that we've already learned so far in the naming of the organic compounds, how we are going to identify the functional group. So first of all, what you're going to see is that whether in the compound they are all carbon-carbon single bonds, or whether there's a double bond present, or there's a triple bond present, or a double bond and a triple bond, both of them they are going to be present. They are going to be prefixes present like the alkyl group, the alkoxy, the halogen group, the nitro group. And then when all of them they are present together, whether it is the presence of multiple bonds, functional groups, substituent groups, all of them they are together. So this is first of all what you have to identify. Now when it is going to be all carbon-carbon single bonds only in the name of the compound, this means that this is going to be an alkane. If there is a double bond, it is an alkene. If it is a triple bond, it is an alkyne. If double bond and triple bond, both of them they are together, then we consider both of them at par while applying the lowest sum rule, but it is named as an alkyne, right? So this is what we have already discussed while we were discussing the nomenclature of the alkynes, that both the double bond and the triple bond they are considered at par while applying the lowest sum rule, and it is going to be named but as an alkyne. But if applying the lowest sum rule you get the same sum, then what you are going to do is that you will be giving a preference to the carbon-carbon double bond, but you will be naming the compound as an alkyne. All right. The next, the substituents like the alkyl group, the alkoxy group, the halogens, the nitro group. Just now I've told you that they are always treated as side chains or substituents, and we will always be denoting them by in the name of the compound by suitable prefixes. So if the same substituent this occurs more than once, then we are going to use prefix like di, tri, tetra, etc. Now when different substituents they are present in the name of the compound, you are going to arrange them in the alphabetical order irrespective of the number of the substituent, right? The next is when the multiple bonds, the functional group and the substituents, all of them they are going to be present together, then what we are going to do is that we will be giving a preference for the naming, first of all to the functional group, then to the double bond, then to the triple bond, and then to the substituent side chains, right? So this is as far as the identification of the functional group is concerned. So now let us improve our learning step by step and learn the complete nomenclature for the aliphatic and the alicyclic compounds. So the simple naming, when all carbon-carbon single bonds, double bonds, triple bonds, they are present, or if they're side chains only present, this is something that we have done in the previous lectures. So what I am going to focus when we are discussing the nomenclature of the polyfunctional compounds is when multiple bonds, the functional group and the substituents, all of them together, they are present in the name of the compound or in the structure, right? So what are we going to do over there? So we've just now learned what we are going to do. Well, we are going to give a preference first of all to the functional group, then to the double bond, to the triple bond, and then the substituent side chains. So let us quickly do some few examples over here So the first example you can see over here, this is a compound. So what you're going to do is you have to first of all identify what all things they are present in the compound. So you can see a double bond is present and there is a functional group present, that is a CHO group. This is the aldehyde group. So whenever we have a functional group present, and the functional group, this is a chain terminating group. A chain terminating group is going to be that group which is going to be always present at one end of the chain. All right, so the chain terminating groups, these consist of the carbon atom, and when such a functional group is present, you are always going to give them number 1. So you're going to start the numbering from the functional group. All right, and otherwise also you're going to see that whatever way you can give the lower number to the functional group. So this is going to be this way, the numbering starting from the CHO group. So this is 6 carbons. Now 6 carbon, the word root is going to be what? It is going to be hex. There is a double bond present at position number 3, so it becomes hex 3-ene, and then there is a position number 1 for the aldehyde, that is ul. So the combined name for the whole is going to be hex 3-ene ul. Now here what you have to remember is that if we write, okay, so if I write this way, that this was hex for the word root, then we put a double bond, position 3, then we write the ene, then 1 for the aldehyde, and then the ul. So first of all, whenever the functional group is at position number 1, we can omit this. So we have omitted in the final name, right? And then you also have to remember that if there is a E in the suffix and the following suffix has a vowel in it or a Y in it, okay, A, E, I, O, U, or a vowel in it, then from the primary suffix we are going to cancel out this E. We are going to omit it, and that is why now the name of the compound, this is hex 3-enol. All right, so we have removed the E. So this is how we name the compound. Fine. So just let me clear this out. So I hope you are getting that first of all you have to identify the compound. That is the most important thing. What all things they are present in the compound. Then you have to identify the functional group which is present in the compound. Then you have to see for the double bonds, the triple bonds. Then you have to see for the substituents, and then you're going to name the compound. All right. So next we have this compound over here. Now if you identify the things that are present, there is a triple bond present and there is a COOH group, the carboxylic acid group. So again this is a chain terminating group. So you are going to start the numbering from the carboxylic acid carbon, right? So this will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6, right? So what is going to be the name of the compound? We'll just quickly do that because you've already done these things in the previous classes. So the name of the compound is going to be hex for the 6 carbons, so parent word root. Then position number 3 is for the ine, so this becomes 3-ine oic acid. 1 is it, so we have not written that one, and because this has a vowel in the secondary suffix, so we have removed the E from the ine. So this becomes hex 3-ine oic acid. The next compound, you can see this is having a substituent at CH3. There is a double bond present. There is a functional group OH present. So you will be starting the numbering from which end, where we are going to give a lower number to the functional group while going to select the chain, right? So 1, 2, 3. You can go straight, you can go above, you will be getting the total number of carbons in the parent chain to be number 4, right? So let us see how is going to be the name. So we have 4 carbons, so this is going to be bute. There is a double bond present at carbon number 2, so this is going to be 2-ene. 1 all, you can emit this all 1 also, and because it is a O, so E is going out from here, and we have a methyl group at position number 3, so this is going to be a prefix, so this becomes 3-methyl bute 2-ene 1 all. Next let us see one more compound. So here we can see again that there is the aldehyde group, there is a double bond present, a triple bond present. So how are we going to name this compound? Well, it is going to be a 7 carbons. Let me just number it. So this is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is something that we have already done. Okay, I'm not teaching you anything. This is just a revision actually. So this is 7 carbons. So the word root is hept. There is a double bond present at position number 3. There is a triple bond present at position number 6, and we have a ul at position number 1, right? So this becomes hept 3 ene 6 ein ul. Now what you have to remember is that the parent prefix is going to be ein. So we are not going to put this ene later and the ein earlier. That is what you have to remember. So the primary suffix what you have to choose from the double bond and the triple bond is going to be a ein. Okay, so this is as far as the one functional group containing compounds they are concerned. So please do remember that when we are going to have the chain terminating groups like the CHO group, the COOH group, the COR group, the CONH2 group, the CN groups, all of these they contain a carbon. So these are the chain terminating groups. They are going to be present always at the end of the chain. So for these you are going to always give designation or numbering as 1 to the carbon of the functional group. All right. So when only one of them this is present, that is what you have to remember. And when they are going to be more than that present, then what we are going to do, that is what you have to still learn. But whenever there is just one functional group and that functional group, this is a chain terminating group, so you are going to give a number 1 to the carbon of the functional group. All right. So this is the compound. Again, one more example you can see. So this is a CHO group. So you will be starting the numbering from carbon number 1 of the aldehyde group. All right. So this is 6 carbons. So hexanal, and there is a methyl group at position number 3. So this becomes 3-methyl hexanal. So now we are in a position to move on to more than one functional group, right? So we are going to discuss about the polyfunctional groups. First of all, we will be building up our information on when there are going to be two functional groups present of the same kind. All right. So here what you will be doing is that you will be adding a suitable suffix to the name of the parent alkane, but here you will be including the carbons of the functional group, right? So let us see an example. We have COOH, COOH. So here you will be counting the numbers of the two carbons of the carboxylic acid group. So carbon number 1, carbon number 2, right? So the word root is going to be eth. This is a single bond, so this becomes ethane. There is a carboxylic acid group, so suffix is going to be oic acid. Because two of them they are present, so it is going to be a dioic acid. So the name of the compound becomes ethane dioic acid. And here now the suffix, this is starting with a D, so you will be retaining the E of the prefix, the primary suffix. All right, so this becomes ethane dioic acid. The next compound you can see is that there is a C double bond O, a C double bond O. So there are two functional groups which are of the same kind, and these are the ketone groups, right? So for the ketone groups, the suffix that you use is a -one. Now again you will be counting the parent chain. You have to include both of them, and you are going to number it in such a way that you are going to include these carbons, right? So this will be carbon number 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5, and the name of the compound, this will become pentane 2,4-dione. All right, let us see one more example. So you have a COOH group, CH double bond CH, COOH. So carbon number 1, carbon number 2, carbon number 3, carbon number 4. You have to include these carbons. All right. So the name of the compound, this becomes but-2-ene 1,4-dioic acid. So I hope this is clear. When there are going to be two functional groups present of the same kind, you are going to choose the suffix according to the primary functional group that is present, and you are going to include the number of carbons of these functional groups as well. So next we have the polyfunctional groups, where more than two functional groups of the same kind they are present. So here what you have to remember is that we have to add a suitable suffix to the name of the parent alkane without including the carbons of the functional group. When there were two functional groups of the same kind, we include the carbons of the functional group. When there are more than two, we are not going to include them. Let us see with the help of some examples. So this is CH2OH, CHOH, CH2OH. OH is the functional group and this does not have a carbon. So there is no point including anything in the name of the parent alkane. So this are the total 3 carbons present in the name of the compound, right? So this is going to be carbon number 1, carbon number 2, carbon number 3. This is the longest chain we have. And now we have to write the name. So this is a 3 carbon chain. This is going to be prop. All single bonds between carbons. So it is going to be ane. The functional group is OH. So this is going to be all, because we have 3 all. So it is going to be triol, and it is at position number 1, position number 2, position number 3. So the compound's name is going to be propane. 1, 2, 3 triol. And because the secondary suffix name is starting with a T, so we will be retaining the E of the primary suffix, right? I hope this is clear. Now let us see an example which I want you to understand. This is CH2, CHO, CH, CHO, CH2, CHO. So here we have 3 functional groups of the same kind, and this functional group, this has a carbon in it. So what the rule says is that you have not to include the carbons of the functional group. You have to treat it just exactly like you have treated the OH group. There was no carbon here, so just assume that there is no carbon here as well, right? So if there are no carbons in this, what does this mean? This is going to be carbon number 1, carbon number 2, carbon number 3. So this again will become propane. And then it is going to be 1, 2, 3 position for the aldehyde group. Now the suffix that you use is going to be different. Normally the suffix that you use for a CHO group is a ul, right? But now because you're not including the carbons of the aldehyde group, we have to understand that we have not included the carbons of the functional group. So how do we do that? We put up a new suffix for it, and the new suffix is carbaldehyde. So now you can understand there is a carbon of the aldehyde which is out of the main chain. Okay, so these are the 3 carbons in the main chain, and along with that, at position number 1, position number 2, and position number 3, we have the aldehyde groups, and this suffix is also telling us that the carbon of the functional group has not been included. Okay, I hope this is clear. Now, one thing more which you have to remember is that initially what was the nomenclature was that we used to include the carbons of the functional group just like we did for the 2 member compound. All right. So this is going to be this way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Obviously, you cannot include the 6th one. So this is going to become the prefix, and these 2, they will be there as a suffix. So as far as this nomenclature is concerned, the CHO group, when we use this as a prefix, it is going to be what? It is going to be formyl group. All right. When we do not include this carbon of the CHO group, the prefix that we use is called as the formyl group. Okay. So this becomes 3-formyl. Then we have pent for the 5 carbons. All single bonds, so this is pentane, and it is going to be 1 and 5 diol. This becomes the name of the compound according to the former IUPAC nomenclature. But the latest nomenclature is when we do not include the carbons of the functional group when they are 3 or more than 3. Okay, this is what you have to remember in many of the textbooks. Why I have written down the former one is because in many of the textbooks still you will be finding this name there. But this is not any more correct. This is what you have to remember, that you are not going to choose this option where you will be using this as the 2 in the main chain and 1 out of it. This is not the way it is done. It is going to be that you are going to choose the parent alkane without including the carbons of the functional group. So please do remember this. This is going to be very important. You will be getting both the names in the choices because your courses are going to be multiple choice questions, and there is a very much probability that you are going to choose the incorrect option if you do not remember this rule. Okay, I hope this is clear. So let us see one more example. So the example is CH2CN, CHCN, CH2CN. So again, the functional group, this has a carbon in it, right? The normal suffix that we use for the CN group is nitrile, but because now we are not going to include this in the main chain, so there has to be a special suffix. Right, so the special suffix for the CN group is going to be carbonitrile. So this compound is going to become propane 1,2,3 tricarbonitrile. So all the functional groups where there is going to be a carbon present in the functional group, we are going to have a special name to a special suffix for them. For the compounds where there are going to be three or more than three functional groups of the same kind. So let us learn them now. So these are the list of the functional groups which have the carbon in them. The CHO group, so the suffix that you will be using is carbaldehyde. For the COOH group, if three or more than three of them they are present in the compound, you will be using carboxylic acid. COX carbonyl halide, COOR it will be alkyl carboxylate, CONH2 carboxamide, and CN is going to be carbonitrile. Now there will be certain instances when you have to use a prefix for these, right? When they are not included in the main chain. So again, what will be happening is that the carbon of the compound, it is not going to be used in the main chain, right? So then you have to use the prefixes CHO formyl. Just now I showed you when it is going to be CHO group, which we have not included the carbon in the main chain. It is going to be a prefix. You will be using formyl. For the COOH group, it will be carboxy. COX group, it will be halocarbonyl. COOR, it will be alkoxycarbonyl or the carb alkoxy. CONH2, it is carbomyl. And CN, it is cyano. Alright, let me show you two examples which will help you understand the concept very well. Alright, and then obviously you have to remember this, there is no choice. The prefixes, the suffixes for all the functional groups in whatever condition they are coming, you have to remember them. You have to practice a lot so that you remember them. Alright, so let me show you two examples which will just help you understand and perfect the concept. Alright, so this is one. This is what you have already seen, that this is the compound where there are CN groups present. Three CN groups present, right? All the three CNs, what do you notice? These are present directly attached to the carbons of the main chain now, right? So this is going to be carbon number 1, carbon number 2, carbon number 3, carbon number 4. CN is attached here, CN is attached here, CN is attached here. Alright, so what is going to be the name of the compound? You've just now learned it. This is going to be butane, right? As far as the parent alkane is concerned, at position number 1, position number 2, and position number 4, we have the CN groups. What is going to be the suffix that we will be using? Carbonitrile. So what is going to be the name of the compound? It is going to be butane 1,2,4 tricarbonitrile. Easy enough. Now look at this compound. Okay, here what you can see is there are again 4 carbons like this in the straight chain. Now look at the CN groups. CN group number 1, CN group number 2, and CN group number 3. So there are again three CN groups present in the structure of the compound. But do we use now again the tricarbonitrile? No. Why no? You just look at this CN group is directly, if you consider this to be the main chain, you can see that this CN group is directly attached to the carbon of the main chain. This CN group is also attached directly to the carbon of the main chain, but this CN is not. This CN is attached to a CH2 group. Okay, and this CH2 group, this is acting as a substituent at position number 3 according to the numbering that we have done. So this means that this CN is not a part of the main chain. This is not a direct substituent on the main chain. When it is not a direct substituent on the main chain, then you cannot make it treat like this. It has to be a direct substituent on the main chain. Okay, I hope this is clear. So what are you going to do? These are again 2 carbons. When they are going to be 2 carbons, you have to count the number of carbons of the functional group in the main chain. So we will be starting with position number 1, position number 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We could have started it this way as well. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But then the substituent would have got a higher number. So again, the longest chain rule, the lower number to the substituent, this is all the things that you have to remember, right? So what is going to be the name of this compound? So this is going to be a 6-carbon compound. So this means this is a hexane. All right. So hexane, and after that you are going to use a nitrile as the suffix. So it is going to be 1 and 6 position for the nitrile. So this becomes dinitrile. Now what is left behind is the substituent. This is the CH2CN. Had it been a CH3, it would have been a methyl group. Now what we have done is we have substituted the hydrogen of the methyl group by the CN group, right? When we have it as a substituted substituent, right? So we have a substituent which has been further substituted. So this is always going to be as a prefix, never it can come as a suffix now. I will be giving you the list of the rules for this as well when we will be seeing one more example. But just remember, because you're seeing it over here. So this is going to be a prefix now. When we are going to use the CN group as a prefix, what are you going to use the word prefix for it? Cyano. So this becomes cyanomethyl. So what is going to be the name of the compound? 3-cyanomethyl, and this you will be putting it in a bracket because this is the substituted substituent. All the substituted substituents you have to put it in a bracket like this. All right. So 3-cyanomethyl hexane 1,6-dinitrile is going to be the name of the compound. Now, one thing more which I want you to tell you over here is that in the last lecture we discussed the alicyclic compounds. In the alicyclic compounds, if the functional groups which consist of carbon, they are directly attached to the carbon of the ring, then again the prefixes and the suffixes, they remain exactly like you have over here. So here also what we are saying is when the CN group is attached directly to the carbon of the main chain, so you are going to use this as a suffix, right? When we have a cyclic compound, in that cyclic compound, the functional group is attached directly to the carbon of the main chain of the ring, then you will be exactly using the same suffixes. Let us see them. So look at now the prefixes and the suffixes which you use for the alicyclic ring directly attached to the carbon containing the functional group. So these prefixes and suffixes, they are going to be just the same as you have just now seen for the functional groups where there are more than 2 present of the same kind, right? So look at this compound. Now this has a CN group which is directly attached to the carbon of the 5-membered ring. So the name of the compound is going to be cyclopentane carbonitrile. Alright, so here you are not going to use nitrile. This is the carbon which is out of the ring. So you have just counted 5 of them. How can you use just nitrile? Just think on this line, right? So you will be using the suffix carbonitrile so that you can tell that we have a ring which is a 5-membered ring, and along with that we have a CN group and there is a carbon in the CN group, right? So the carbons are very important in the organic chemistry. I hope now you're getting the thing. So next you can see over here, this is a 6-membered ring to which directly attached is a CHO group. So what are you going to use as a suffix? It is going to be carbaldehyde. So this is cyclohexane carbaldehyde. Let us see one more example. So this is what, again a 6-membered ring, CONH2 and a CH3. A CH3 is always going to be treated as a substituent. This is going to be the functional group and this is directly attached to the ring. So what is going to be the suffix that you are going to use? Carboxamide. All right, so what is going to be the name? It is going to be 3-methyl cyclohexane 1 carboxamide. Okay, I hope this is clear. So next, let us remove one more confusion over here while we are naming the compounds, the sum of the locants versus the functional group. So what is going to be a priority? Checking the sum of the locants or the functional group? So well, what you have to remember over here is that the functional group, this has to be given the lowest possible number. Even if the sum of the locants, this becomes higher, the functional group is our top priority, right? So let us see one example. If you have this as the compound, you can see there is a bromine attached to the carbon chain, there is a OH group attached. So out of these two, which is going to be the functional group, it is going to be OH. The halogens, they are always treated as substituents, right? Now, so what you are told is that you have to start the numbering in such a way that the functional group this gets a lower number. So we will be starting the numbering from this end: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The name of the compound, this is going to become 6-bromo-hexane 2 all. Alright, if you check the sum of the locus, you will be finding it. This is 6 plus 2, that is 8. If you start the numbering from the other side, what you will be getting is carbon number 1 is where bromine is attached, and carbon number 5 where the OH is attached. The sum of the locants, this will become 1 plus 5, this is 6. So this is a lower sum of locants. But you have not to choose this name, which is going to be 1-bromo-hexane 5 all, because you are giving a higher number to the functional group in this. Alright. So this is what you have to remember. You have to give the lower number to the functional group always. Now into the last leg of the journey of this lecture, we are going to learn about the naming of the polyfunctional compounds, where they're going to be present two or more than two functional groups of the different kind. So here what you have to remember is that you are going to assign one out of all these functional groups a designation of a principal functional group. That group is going to be the leader of the gang. All right, and we will be assigning the leader the lower number, and the rest of the groups, they are going to be treated as substituents, right? So this is the group which will be assigning a secondary suffix, and rest of the all groups, they will be in the name of the compound be prefixes. Let me give you one example so that you can understand this better. All right, so we have a 4-carbon compound where their functional group present is a carboxylic acid, so COOH. So I hope you all know how to write the name of this. This is going to be number 1 carbon, because the functional group which contains the carbon in it, we are going to assign it carbon number 1, right? So this is butanoic acid. How do we write it? The word root is but, right? All carbon carbon single bond, so this is ane. At position number 1, we have oic acid. When we have at position number 1, we can even omit this one. So we can just omit this. And because this is a E and after this is a vowel, so we are going to remove this name, E. So what we will be getting, the name of the compound is as butanoic acid. Right? I hope this is clear. Now instead of this, if I remove this and instead I put a OH at this position. Okay, let us put it over here only. OH at this position, right? So again, the counting is going to be starting from the functional group. Now, instead of the butanoic acid, this is going to become all. So this would be butanol. Again, the E would go because this is a O over here, right? This is butanol. Now, instead of this, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to put a COOH over here, and I am putting a OH at this position. Now what is it going to be? Is it going to be butanoic acid or is it going to be butanol? One of the two, this is going to go as a primary functional group, and the other has to go as a substituent. But which out of these two? First of all, let me tell you which out of these two is going to be the priority, or this is going to be the functional group. So this is going to be our priority. When this is going to be our priority, the name of the compound is going to be butanoic acid, and before butanoic acid, this is going to go as a prefix for hydroxy. Okay, so this is how the name of the compound is going to be. The functional group that you're going to choose as the priority, this is going to be the principal functional group. Principal functional group. You will be giving this a lower number. Rest all the functional groups which are going to be present, they will be treated as a substituent. Okay, I hope this is clear to you people. Now, how are we going to assign this priority? That is what you have to learn. There is an order of priority for all the functional groups that we have. According to the IUPAC nomenclature, I am going to give you the priority of these functional groups. So, the IUPAC name is obtained in order of preference as, first of all, the chain terminating groups. Alright, so there are different groups, types of groups. They are going to be chain terminating groups like the COOH group. This is going to be always present at the end of the carbon chain. And then there will be groups which are going to be the non-chain terminating groups like the OH group. It can be present in between also the chain. It is not essential for it to be present always at the end. So what you have to remember is that the chain terminating groups, they will be present always as a priority over the non-chain terminating groups. Okay, this is the non-terminating groups that I have written over here. Now comes the question, which are the chain terminating groups and what is going to be the priority order for them. So first of all, the most important is for us the acid groups, the carboxylic acid group, and after that the sulfonic acid group. And next is going to be the acid derivatives. Among the acid derivatives, the acid anhydrides, then the esters, then the acid halides, and then the acid amides. Next in the order is cyano or the nitrile group, that is the CN group, and after that we have the aldehyde group, that is the CHO group. So these are the groups which are the chain terminating groups which are going to be present always at one end of the chain. Now, can I help you learn this order? Well, yes, I can help you learn this order as well. How are we going to do that? Let us see this. All right. If you look at this over here, this is just a trick for you people. This is a COOH. Right, wherever there is a double bond present, just consider this to be a single bond. It is not actually a single bond. This is just for remembering a trick. Okay, just write it this way, and this was a double bond, so I am just making it a single bond and I'm writing a O like this. So what this means is we are just representing it to learn the trick. First of all, that is important. The structure is this, it is never represented as this. So for the trick, you can see, consider this double bond to be two oxygens bond to this carbon. So total making it three oxygens which are bound to the carbon. All right. For this, it is going to be 3. For the sulfonic acid group also, this is 3. For the acid derivatives also, it is going to be 3. If you look at this carbon, this is going to be 1 oxygen and 2 double bonds. So this will be also 3. This is also going to be 3. This is also going to be 3. C double bonded to O and the X. And then it will be C double bonded to O and NH2. For all of these, what you are going to see is that carbon is forming 3 bonds. Alright, just like this. Fine. The cyanide or the nitrile group also, carbon is forming 3 bonds with nitrogen, right? So all of these are making first of all 3 bonds. First of all, these are the chain terminating groups. These are going to be of a higher priority than the non-chain terminating groups. Then this is forming 3 bonds, and if you look at the aldehyde, this is going to be carbon. You are not going to count to the hydrogen, all right? So only what you are going to count is to other heteroatoms apart from hydrogen. Okay, so you can see over here, this is oxygen, so this is forming 2 bonds, so this is going to be 2 in number. So whatever compound is making 3 bonds is going to be of a higher priority than a compound which is the functional group which is forming 2 bonds. Okay, so the acid groups and the acid derivatives and the nitriles, they are higher in priority than the aldehydes. Okay, I hope this is clear. Now amongst this, how you will remember, carbon is going to be more. This is also carboxylic acid, this is sulfonic acid. Carbon is more important to us in organic chemistry than sulfur, so let us put carboxylic acid before sulfonic acid. These are done. Now the next, after the acids, we have the acid derivative. Obviously whatever is the main compound is going to be more important than its derivative. Okay, so the carboxylic acid, this is higher in priority than the acid derivatives. All the acid derivatives, they are going to be less than the acid groups. So first we have the carboxylic acid group, then we have the sulfonic acid, and then we have the acid derivatives. Now how can we learn the order of the acid derivative? Just remember a mnemonic for that. This is a reaction. The reaction, how I write in short, is a RXN. This is how I write a reaction. All right, if I want to write it in short, this is my abbreviation. So a reaction, A is anhydride, R is ester, X is the halide for the halogen atom, and N is for the amide. All right. So this is how you can remember the order for the acid derivatives. First we have the acid, carboxylic acid, then sulfonic acid, then the anhydride, the ester, acid halide, and the acidamides. This is done. The next we come on to the nitrile now. Now if you compare the carboxylic acid and the nitrile, here what you can see is this is a double bond, three bonds to oxygen. You can say it is making three bonds to oxygen, and the other we are having three bonds to nitrogen, right? So this is what we have said. We are, this is carbon making three bonds with oxygen, and this is carbon making three bonds with nitrogen. Out of these two, oxygen is more electronegative than nitrogen. So let us put oxygen prior to nitrogen. Okay, so the acid groups, they are going to be of a higher priority than the nitriles. So till now you have learned the order, I think very easy. The acid groups, the both the carboxylic acid, the sulfonic acid, and the acid derivatives in the order of a reaction, and then we have the nitrile group. Next we have the aldehyde. This is the last chain terminating group that we have, and this has a bond order, bond of 2, bond value of 2. Okay, so this is going to be the least of out of all these. I'm going to just rub these so that we can put up now the non chain terminating groups. I hope you are understanding this and you are remembering this as well. Okay, so you should remember the order. That is very important, and I think this is one way which you can remember this order very well. Okay, so next we move on to now the chain terminating groups. So the non-chain terminating groups, they are going to be lower in priority than the chain terminating groups. And after the aldehyde, this was a carbon oxygen double bond. We have a non-chain terminating group which also has a carbon bonded to oxygen. Which is that? That is the ketone, right? So instead of this H, we have just what? We have a alkyl group attached. So the ketone, this is a non-chain terminating group. This also has a bond value of 2, right? So this was also 2 and this is also 2, but this is a chain terminating group. This is of a higher priority to us than ketone. Or the other way you can remember is that aldehyde is A and this is K. So alphabetically aldehyde is going to come before ketone. This is another way in which you can remember. The next we have is the alcohols. All right. So alcohol now, this is going to be what? This is just one bond, right? So carbon bonded to oxygen. This is one single bond. So we start over here. Number one. An alcohol and a phenol, both of them, they have OH as the functional group. So remember it alphabetically, A comes before phenol. So the priority of the alcohol is greater than that of the phenol. Okay. Next, we move on to thioalcohol. All right. So oxygen, again, this is going to be more electronegative than sulfur. So we have the alcohols to be more important than the thioalcohols. Next, we move on to those compounds where again we have the functional group to be 1. So this is amine. All right. So this is also 1. This is also 1. So here what the carbon will be bound to the nitrogen by a single bond. But again, if you compare, this alcohol was 1, thioalcohol was 1, and then we have amine. So alcohol and amine, this is a O and this is again a N. So electronegativity of alcohol is more than that of amine. So you will be having alcohol to be of a higher priority than the amine group, that is the NH2 group, right? And then we have the derivatives of the amines. Okay, the N-alkyl amine, where we have removed one H and replaced it by R, and then we have replaced 2H by 2R. So these are going to be next in number. After the amine, the N-alkyl amino, and then the N dialkyl amino. This is the next order. Next, we move on to the ethers, the alkenes, and the alkynes. The ethers, I hope you all remember that this is going to be always a prefix only. This is always going to be a substituent. The ethers, the alkyl groups as well as the nitro group, they are all the substituents. We never treat them as a main functional group. So there is no question of this in order. So this is what we reach up to the ether. After that, we have the alkenes and the alkynes. So you've already studied that in preference, when we are assigning a lower number, we assign the lower number to the alkene and then to the alkyne. And this is also what you can remember alphabetically. This is a E and this is a Y. So alphabetically, otherwise they both are going to be equal in priority when you are using the lowest sum rule. But then you have to choose out of the two when both of them they are occupying the same locate. So you will be choosing a alkene in preference over the alkyne. So this is alphabetical order. Okay, I hope this is clear. We have first of all the chain terminating groups to be higher in priority than the non-chain terminating groups. Then among this, the acids, the acid derivatives and the cyano groups, they are all having 3 bonds, the way we have remembered this trick. So first of all, we will be starting with the carboxylic acid group. Okay, because this is the main acids. Then we have the sulfonic acid. Carbon is more important to us than sulfur. Then the acid derivatives. Here we are remembering this as a reaction. First of all anhydride, then ester, then acid halides, and then acid amides. Next we move on to the uh, the cyano or the nitrile group. So this is a carbon bonded to nitrogen by triple bond. So carbon bonded to oxygen by 3 bonds is going to be more important to us than carbon bonded to nitrogen, more in electronegativity. Then we move on to the bonds which are 2 in number. So first of all, we will be having aldehyde and then ketone. Alphabetically you can remember it, or this is a chain terminating group, this is a non-chain terminating group. Then we move on to those compounds where the carbon is forming one bond with the hetero atom. So first of all we have alcohol, then we have thioalcohol, and then alcohol, phenol, and then thioalcohol, and then we have O in preference to N. So amine is going to be less than the alcohol. Then its substituents, the N-alkylamine and the N-dialkylamine. Then ether, this is always a prefix, always a substituent, and then the alkenes and the alkynes. I think now you should have learned it. I have spoken this so many times. Okay, so now what we will be doing is we will be putting all this into a table with all the suffixes and the prefixes for them so that you can remember them by just looking at them. All right, so this is one thing that you should make in your copy. The class of the compound carboxylic acid and going down the priority order. All right, the next we have is the formula of the compound which you are going to have, which is, and then we have the suffix that we use for them, and then we have the prefix that we use for them. Right, so this is how you are going to give a priority to the different functional groups which are present in the compound, starting from carboxylic acid moving down to the alkynes. I hope you have understood, and better understanding is going to be when I'm going to give you a few examples. We are going to name those compounds. Let us begin that, but just remember the priority order. Learn this with the help of the trick that I've already told you. Right, so let us see a few examples now. So now as we are going to practice the examples for the polyfunctional compounds, please just be very careful and attentive and see whatever steps that I am following. Just follow those steps and you will never make a mistake while you're going to name the organic compound. All right, so the first example we have as this compound. Here first of all what you are going to identify, you are going to identify what all is the nature of the compound, whether they are single bonds, double bond, triple bonds, what are the different types of functional groups and the substituents that are present in the name of the compound. All right, so you can see all they are single bonds. There is a functional group, that is the OH group. You can see there is a COOH group present. All right, so when you have a COH group and a OH group, these are two functional groups. So out of them only one is going to be your principal functional group, so you have to choose it from the priority order. How are you going to choose it? Well, now you know also that first of all this is a chain terminating group, so this is a non-chain terminating group, so this is very easy for you to choose this carboxylic acid group, that this is going to be your principal functional group. And once you have chosen the principal functional group, what are you going to do? You are going to start the numbering so that you can choose your longest carbon chain, right? So this is carbon number 1, carbon number 2, carbon number 3, carbon number 4, carbon number 5. So once you have done that, just write the name of the parent alkane. Sorry, the parent chain. All right. So when you have, this is a 5 carbon chain, so the word root is going to be pent. All are single bonds, so it is pentane. Okay, there is COH group present in position number 1. I can omit position number 1. Now you know that. Okay, so what we are going to do is we are going to write the oic acid for the carboxylic acid group, because E and the next is a vowel, so you are not going to use that together. So we are going to cancel out this E. So this becomes pentanoic acid. Now after that, what you have to see is what all is left behind. They are to be treated as the substituents, whether it is a functional group, whether it is a alkyl group, a nitro group, a alkoxy group. So whatever is left behind, that is a substituent. Okay, so this is a substituent, this is a substituent, and you have to see whatever the numbers they are, and then you are going to arrange these substituents in the alphabetical order. Okay, so we have a methyl group at position number 2. I'll just write it as 2M. And we have a hydroxy group at position number 4, so this is a 4H. Okay, this is just in short I am writing so that I can arrange my substituents in the alphabetical order. So H is going to come before M. So the name of the compound, these is going to have both of these as prefixes now, and it is going to be a 4-hydroxy 2-methyl pentanoic acid. Okay, so let us see the name of the compound. This is 4-hydroxy 2-methyl pentanoic acid. So I hope now you are understanding how we are going to write the name. First of all, just identify, look at the compound, what all it has. Do not just start writing the name. Okay, so see, identify what all we have, then see which is going to be the principal functional group. Rest of the things, they are going to be substituents. Choose the longest chain which contains the functional group, and if it is a chain terminating group, so you have to include in the parent chain the carbon of the functional group, right? And then you are going to arrange the substituents in the alphabetical order. Now this compound does not had double bonds or triple bonds, so let us see one example where there is a double bond present. Okay, so here you can see that this is a OH group, there is a double bond, and there is another OH group. So there is only one functional group in this compound, that is the OH group. This is present 2 times. Okay, and when it is present 2 times, you are going to use a di for it. Okay, di, and this is a alcohol, so it is going to be all in the secondary suffix. But before that, we have to do the numbering, right? So we have just identified that there is a functional group present. So when let us start doing the numbering so that we can give a lower number to both of the OH groups. That is very important now, because 2 of them they are present, so you have to see that you are assigning a lower number to both of them. So this is one way which I can start the numbering, and the other way which I can do is that when I'm assigning this a lower number, so I'm going to start it this way. So what you can see is in both the ways you are giving the OH groups position number 1 and 5. Okay, so this is 1 and 5, it is going to be diol for this, and because this is a 5 carbon compound, so it is going to be pent as the word root. Now you can see in the compound that there is a double bond present. All right, so where are you going to start the numbering? Which end will you start the numbering, which is going to give a lower number to the double bond? So if you start from this end, you will see that the double bond this gets number 2, and if we start from this end, the double bond gets number 3. So we will be starting from this end, which gives a lower number to the double bond. All right, so this becomes pent 2-ene, and then it is fun 5-diol. So let us put it in the typed better so that you can see it. So pent 2-ene 1,5-diol. So you are getting it. Again, you have to choose the first of all the primary functional group, the principal functional group, which you are going to give a priority. Then this has to be numbered in such a way that the functional group this gets a lower number. Then you choose your longest chain, and then you identify double bonds, triple bonds present, and then you see for the substituents this compound did not have any more substituents, right? So now let us see one more example. So in this example, what you can see is that there is a CN group present. I can see a double bond present. There is a C double bonded to oxygen present. So this is a ketone group present, right? So a ketone is going to be present in between the alkyl groups, whereas the aldehyde group is going to be always the chain terminating group. So now we have two functional group. There is a CN group and there is a CO group. This is a chain terminating group. This is not a chain terminating group. So I can set my priority. Well, you all know that which is going to be the priority. It is going to be the carbon triple bonded to nitrogen, and that also I have told you that this is going to form three bonds, carbon to nitrogen, three bonds, and whereas this is forming two bonds to the oxygen. So this is bonds 3, this is bond 2. So this is going to be our functional group of principal priority. And when we have a chain terminating group, we have to start it the numbering from this end. So this will be 1 2 3 4 5 6 and 7. So now do we have the word root? Yes, we have the word root. The word root is going to be hept. Okay, there is a double bond present at position number 3. So this becomes heptene. And there is one nitrile. You can omit that one. I just keep on writing that one so that you just remember. All right. So this is one nitrile. Okay. The E has just been gone. Okay. So I'll just put it in the other way. Now, the next thing is that you have to see what all is left behind now in this name. We have not used certain things in the name. One is the CH3 group which has not come, and one is this group which has not come. So this is a functional group, but now this is not the principal functional group, so it is going to be a substituent, and the substituents, they are always having a prefix. All right, so a ketone group is having a prefix as oxo, so this is going to be O, and this is at position number 5. All right, and then we have a methyl group at position number 2. So which is going to come alphabetically first? It is going to be M prior to O. So the name of the compound is going to be 2-methyl 5-oxo hept 3-ene nitrile. All right, so I hope you are getting how we are going to proceed. The methodology, if that is very correct, well, you are not going to make a mistake. However difficult the name of the compound it may seem when you are looking at it, but when you start solving it in a proper way, you are going to do it correct. Okay, so let us do one more example. Now in this example, what you can see is there is a NH2 group present, there is a carbon bonded to oxygen, again this is again a ketone group present, and then there is a OH group present. So we have three functional groups. Now out of these three functional groups, which is going to be of priority, well, you can look at this. This is a carbon double bonded to oxygen, so this means it is going to be two bonds. This carbon is bonded to nitrogen, so this is one bond, and this carbon is bonded to oxygen, this is one bond. So which is going to be our functional group of priority, which is having more number of bonds, right? So this is having two bonds, so this is my functional group of priority. Once you have chosen the functional group of priority, the rest all the functional groups, they are substituents. Then you do not have to see which is of a priority. Okay, so the priority is only for the principal functional group. So now we are going to number the compound. So we have to give a lower number to the functional group. So I can start it this way. This is 1 2 3 4 5. And if I start from the opposite way also, what you can see is that this is going to be the center compound. So this is going to be the same number to the functional group. Okay. So now we have the same number to the functional group. Then what you have to see is the substituent present. So when we have the substituents present, you are going to follow the lowest sum rule. When you follow the lowest sum rule, if you start from this side, you can see the NH2 group, this is present at position number 2, and at position number 4 there is a OH group present, so this will become 6. If you start from this side, the OH group is at position number 2, and at position number 4 we have the NH2 group. So again this is the same sum of the locants. So when the same sum of the locants is there, then what you are going to do is that you are going to start the numbering from that end, where you are going to have the alphabetically first coming substituent. Okay, so if you start the numbering from this end, you are going to give position number 2 to the NH2 group, right? So NH2 group, when you are going to write the prefix for this is going to be amino. Okay, and the other is hydroxy. So which is going to be alphabetically first? It is going to be A, obviously. So you are going to start the numbering in such a way that you are going to give the lower number to the NH2 group, because alphabetically that is going to come first. Okay. So first of all, we see for the functional group the lower numbering. Then we see for the double bond and the triple bond. Then we apply the lowest sum rule for the substituents. And then if that is also the same, then we are going to see that which of the substituents is coming first alphabetically. You are going to give that a lower number. So we will be starting it from this side, because the amino group, this will be getting number 2 from this side, and from this end it is going to be number 4. So what is going to be the name of this compound? Well, the name of the compound, this is going to be 5, so pent, all single bonds, so ane, a double bond, a ketone at position number 3, so 3-one, and then the prefixes for the two substituents, that is 2-amino, 4-hydroxy, and the name is now this complete. Okay, I hope now you are getting more and more knowledge and you are not going to make mistakes. You have to practice a lot. When you are going to practice a lot, you are going to be perfect in it. It is very easy. It is only that when we follow all the rules, we understand all the rules, then we know about all the suffixes, the prefixes. That is one thing that you have to learn. I will not be able to help you in that. The prefixes, suffixes, all you have to learn. Okay, that is one thing that is requiring a learning. The rest of the things I'm explaining you, I hope you are not going to make any mistake in that. Okay, so next compound, let's do a alicyclic compound now. So this is a alicyclic compound. This is a cyclopentane. Okay, this cyclopentane, now this has two functional groups. There is a ketone group and there is a CN group. So again, you're going to see the number of bonds in this. So this is 3 bonds, this is 2 bonds. So the principal functional group is going to be the CN group. Okay, so you are going to start the numbering from this and then it is going to be 2. Now I've also told you that in a alicyclic compound, when we have a functional group which contains a carbon and this carbon is directly attached to the ring, we are not going to use a nitrile for it. We will be using what prefix, suffix? We will be using a cyanonitrile. All right. So what is going to be the name of this compound? It is going to be 2-oxo. This is position number 1. So this will be position number 2. So 2-oxo cyclopentane 1-carbonitrile. All right. Let us see now the last on this sheet, and then we are going to learn some more things. All right. So in this compound, what you can see is that there is a CHO group, there is a COOH group, this is a OH group, and NO2 group. So out of these, which is a functional group of priority, this is a COH group, this is 3 bonds. This is 2 bonds, this is 1 bond, and the NO2 group, this is always a substituent. So out of this, which is going to be the carbon of priority, it is going to be this one, the carboxylic acid carbon. This is a carbon of priority. All right, so the rest we have them as substituents. So let us do the numbering now. So when we start with number 1 with the carboxylic acid group, this is carbon number 2, carbon number 3. Now one thing is that you are going to treat all the rest as substituents, but there is one exception, that when we have a aldehyde group on the other end, all right, so we can number this carbon as well. This is only for the aldehydes. Please do remember that we can number this carbon as well. When we number this carbon, okay, so we are included the carbon of the aldehyde group. So we are going to use now a prefix for it, that is going to be oxo. It is going to be a prefix only because now it is a substituent. It is not the principal functional group. So you are going to use a prefix for it, but you will be using the prefix oxo. If you do not use this, there is one way of naming where you can use okay, I'll just put 1 over here, 1, 2 and 3. Okay, And this is the other way in which we can name this compound when we will not be using the carbon of the aldehyde group. Both of these, they are correct, although the better option is going to be this option where we will be including the carbon of the aldehyde group in the parent chain. Okay, so the name of the compound, if you look at it, I'll just put both the names that is easy for you to understand. So if we are naming when you are including the carbon of the aldehyde group, these are 4 carbons, so this becomes butanoic acid. And then there is oxo group at position number 4, hydroxy group at position number 3, and at position number 2 there is a nitro group. If you arrange them alphabetically, the name of the compound will become 3 hydroxy 2 nitro 4 oxo butanoic acid. The next way which I've told you is that we do not include the carbon of the aldehyde group. So this is just a complete substituent. Alright. So in that way it is going to be these 3 carbons. So 3 carbons, it is going to be propanoic acid. When we do not include the carbon of the aldehyde group in the parent chain, the the prefix that we will be using for it is going to be the formyl group. Okay. So whenever you include the carbon, it is going to be oxo. And when you do not include the carbon, then it is going to be formyl as the prefix. So here now we will be having a formyl group, a OH group, that is the hydroxy group, and a nitro group. So when you're going to arrange it alphabetically, it will be 3 formyl, 3 hydroxy, 2 nitro, propanoic acid. Okay, so I hope you will remember this. This is very, very important rule. For the aldehydes, this is an exception that you can include it in the parent chain. Okay, even if it is not the principal functional group, the rest you all will be treating them as substituents, right? So this is as far as now a few examples. Now there are going to be certain more things which you have to remember, so let us learn something more now. So we are now almost to the end of the lecture, but certain important things still left. Let us quickly discuss them. The point is what you have to remember when a substituent itself is substituted. I did give you one example while we were talking about the functional groups where there were more than 2 functional groups of the same kind. I hope you all remember the example where I gave you of the 3 cyanides. So let us just remember learn some points which you have to always remember. First of all, a substituent which itself is substituted, this is called as a subsidiary substituent. All right, a substituent which is going to be substituted. So here this is going to be represented by a suitable prefix. So because it is a substituent, so it is always going to come as a prefix. The substituent which bears the subsidiary substituent, this will be regarded as the parent substituent. All right, I'll give you an example so you'll come to understand. In the naming of the substituent, no characteristic group is going to be expressed as a suffix. What all has been substituted, you are going to put it as a prefix for the parent substituent. There is going to be no thing as a suffix over here. All right, the point of attachment of the complex substituent, you have to give it the lowest permissible locant. And then let us look at some common substituents. So we have a CH2OH. Had this been not a OH, it would have been a hydrogen. Okay, so it would have been a CH3 group, which is a substituent. All right, so the prefix that you use for CH3 is going to be methyl. Now, in the methyl group, we have replaced the hydrogen by the OH group. So this is a substituted substituent. This is a subsidiary substituent. And the CH3 group, this is the parent substituent. So this is the parent name, the methyl group. And this we have a OH group. So this becomes hydroxymethyl. You will never be putting it as a suffix. It will always come as a prefix to the name of the substituent. All right, let us see CH2CHO. So the CHO group is going to be a formyl group when we are not including the carbon of the CHO group. All right, so this is formyl methyl. CH2COOH, this comes as a prefix carboxymethyl. A CN group as a prefix, it is going to be cyanomethyl. All right, let us see now one example. So this is a example, a big enough. This can afraid anyone, but I hope you are not going to get afraid. You have learned so much of nomenclature. So now let us just look at it. Okay, when you're going to look at it, let us see that what all the functional groups they are present. It is a OH group or OH group. I can see a CH3 coming out. It is a alkyl group, so this is always going to be a substituent. A Cl group, this is a halogen, always going to be a substituent. It is a NH2 group, and again a OH group, which I can see over here apart from the carbons, right? So this means my functional group has to be out of the OH and the NH2. It is going to be OH. Now I can see that there are three OHs, right? 3 OH, and this is a NH2, a Cl. All of this has to be catered off. So let us see where we can start the numbering from. If we start the numbering from this side, so that I can give a number to my OH, so what I will be doing is 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9. This is 9 carbons. If I move it from 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9, again 9 carbons. So this means if we move this way or we move this way, it is going to be same number of carbons. If we start from this way, it is going to be 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9, and this is 9 only, right? So this means from all ways I am getting 9 carbons. So the longest chain has to be a 9 carbon chain. Now what you have to look is that if you start from this side, you will get OH at position number 1. If you start from this side, it is OH at position number 1. If you start from this side, it is going to be OH at position number 1. So, and also when you're going to end it at one chain, the position number of the OH is also going to be the last one, that is the 9th position. So always you are going to get the same functional group, the same numbering to the functional groups. So now the next thing that you have to see for the numbering is the substituents. When you look at the substituents, if you start from this side, it is a substituent at position number 3. If you start from this side, it is going to be a substituent at position number 2, and if you start from this side, it is a substituent at position number 3. So this is my first point of difference. I hope you all remember the rule. The first point of difference is always given a preference over the sum of locant rule also. But in this case, the sum of locant is also going to be lower when you're going to start the numbering from this side. This is position number 2. Alright. So when you start from this position number 2, okay, I started from this. So let us do something. So this is 1, this is 2, this is 3, this is 4, this is 5. Till here it is going to be the same path. Now I have two options to move. One is going to be this side if I move, and the other is this side if I move. So when I move this way, I will be finding the methyl group coming over here, and when I move at this way, it is going to be at position number 2, the Cl is coming. So this means that my lower number is going to be this way. So I'm going to go this way so that my substituents they get a lower number. Right? Now this is done. So I have chosen my parent chain. When I have chosen my parent chain, this is a 9 carbon chain. So this is a nonane. All single bonds were there. There are two OH groups in the chain. So this becomes 1 and this becomes 9. This becomes diol. So my substituent part is done. Now what is left behind, I'm so sorry for this, okay, but I'll just rub it and give you in the typed form only, so do not worry about it. So what is left behind now? This is a NH2 group, this is a CH3 group, and this is what? This is a subsidiary substituent. All right, but if you look at the parent substituent, it is going to be this group. So this is a butyl group. I have a amino, I have a methyl, and I have a butyl. So what is going to be my order? It is going to be order number 1, order number 2, and order number 3. This is how you're going to number them as the prefixes. Right? Now when you're going to name this, only this is left now naming, the rest you can see the number, so it is going to be this order. So this is my butyl group, but this butyl group, this is substituted. At a position number 2 there is a chloro, and position number 4 there is a hydroxy, so this also has to be mentioned, and the whole name you will be putting in a bracket because this is a subsidiary substituent. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to rub this because my name is going to come over here. Okay, the rest we can rub later on as well. So the name of the compound, you can see this is a nonane. This is a diol. You can put this 1,9 over here or you put it over here. Both ways this is correct. Alright. Now they were my three groups, the amino group, then the butyl group, and then the methyl group. So this is the order. This is the numbering you can check from here. And this was my subsidiary substituent. So this is a 2-chloro-4-hydroxy butyl group. And this is the whole name. Right. So it seemed to be a long name. It seemed to be a difficult name, but we have done it. Right, and you can do more. So you have to practice and practice a lot of the nomenclature so that you become perfect at it. So there is just one small bit of information that is still left. Let me give you. Now the next we have is the numerical prefixes for the complex entities, when you will be seeing that the substituted substituents, they have identical groups, right? So you have seen in the normal compound that there can be identical substituents, right? There can be identical functional groups present, there can be identical substituents present. So obviously this means that we have a substituent which is substituted, we have a subsidiary substituent. This can also have identical groups, so there should be some rule for that as well. So here what you have to do is you have to determine the position of those groups in the compound, and then you will be adding a kiss after the numbering of that functional group. All right, so the kiss is not used. You will see in the example, then you will understand this better. Kiss is not used when the substituent, this is a single unit. If it is only one substituent, like you just now saw, it was a chloro, a hydroxy, so we just wrote the numbers for them. All right, then when it is a single unit, when there are going to be two functional groups, that is the same type. Okay, where for example in the last example that you saw, if instead of that hydroxy I had two chloro groups, then what do you use? Right, you have learned that it is going to be a di, right, a dichloro. No, you do not use a di. What you use is for two bis. And when it is going to be three, generally what you write is tri, but when it is a subsidiary substituent you will using tris. All right, and from 4 onwards you will be using tetrakis, pentakis, and so on. Okay, hexakis, heptakis, this way. So this is going to be nothing that you will be using if it is single. If it is going to be 2, you will be using bis. If it is going to be 3, you will be using tris. For 4, it is going to be tetrakis, pentakis, and then it is going to be a same type of word root with a kiss behind that. All right, a hexakis, a heptakis. Let us see now an example for this. So here you can see an example. The longest chain which is going to come is going to be this chain. When you're going to start the numbering, it is going to from this end, so that this substituents, they get a lower number. All right. So you will be starting the numbering from this end. It is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right. The next you can see that there are two substituents and they are of similar nature. And this is a ethyl group, and ethyl group which has been substituted at position number 2 with a chloro. So how are we going to write the name? Let us see now. The green one is the correct one and the red one is the wrong one. Okay. So this was an octane. Octane we had at position number 4 and 4 as the substituents, which is a 2-chloroethyl group. So this is a 2 position for the, so your numbering of the substituent starts from this position where it is joined to the main chain. So you're not going to start the numbering from this end. This is not 1 and this is 2. This is 1 and this will be 2. From the point it is joining the main chain. This is going to be carbon number 1. So the chlorine is present at carbon number 2. So this becomes 2-chloroethyl. You have to put it in the bracket, and this is having a bis in front of it to tell us that this has been repeated 2 times. So the position of the repetition is 4-4. So 4,4 bis 2-chloroethyl octane rather than using a di. Okay, so this is another thing that you have to remember for the subsidiary substituents. So finally, I am just coming up to some important things which we could not discuss, but they are important. And there are going to be certain things that we have discussed as well. There may be certain things which we have not discussed, but all of these, they are important. They are the precautions for writing the IUPAC nomenclature. The first is that you have to write the IUPAC name as one word. There is no gaps, except that when there it is going to be a hen hide, right? So you write that separate words, but otherwise you generally write it as one word. The numbers, they are separated from the designation of the prefixes and the suffixes by a hyphen. So you have seen that we have put a hyphen in between wherever numbers were coming. Two or more sub numbers, when they are going to be used in the single name, they will be separated by commas. So 1, 4 is going to be separated by a comma. The prefixes for the common names like N, ISO, SEC, TERT, NEO, they are to be avoided in the IUPAC names unless they are giving us the structure. Alright. So the structural prefixes like the SEC, the TERT, the CIS, the trans, the meso, etc., they are italicized and joined by a hyphen. These prefixes, they are ignored in alphabetizing the compound names. Alright, so when you're going to write them in the alphabetical order, you're not going to see that this is a C. No, you will be seeing the B only. Alright. This is what you have to remember. I will give you the examples of this as well. I have not put up any example. The lecture is itself quite long by now. So what we will be doing is that I'm going to give you some practice problems after we have finished the next lecture. That is going to be the nomenclature of the aromatic compounds. With that, we will be completing the nomenclature, and then I will give you one more lecture on practice problems of the whole of the nomenclature together. Alright. So there I will try to give you an example of this as well. The structural prefixes like cyclo, iso, neo, etc., they are treated as a part of the basic name, and therefore they are neither italicized nor separated by a hyphen. So for example, you have cyclohexane, isopropylamine, so you are not going to italicize them. The numerical prefixes like di, tri, tetra, etc., they are also treated as a part of the basic name. So they are not also italicized, and nor they are separated by the hyphen, and they are going to be ignored in the alphabetizing of the name of the compound. So this is something that you already now know. So this is certain things that you have to remember. These structural prefixes, they will become more clear to you when we will be starting with the isomerism. So I hope now you have a complete understanding of the nomenclature as far as the aliphatic hydrocarbons and the alicyclic compounds, they are concerned. Practice, practice and practice a lot of nomenclature so that you become perfect. So that would be all for this lecture. I hope you have enjoyed it, you have understood everything, and you're going to practice now, and all the difficulties, they are going to be coming up to me. Right? So see you again for the next lecture, last lecture on the nomenclature of compounds, where we will be learning about the aromatic compounds. These are the cyclic compounds which are not going to be having properties similar to the aliphatic compounds. Right? So see you again. Have a nice day. God bless you.